Hey, this week on the 167, it's Cameron and Jake and myself talking about week 2 of Move. Are we wearing pants? We don't know. You'll have to find out on the 167. Hey, welcome to the 167. This is Lucas Motley. I'm the discipleship pastor here at New Life Community Church, and I am joined today by Cameron Lazier.
Heyo.
The youth pastor here does 7th through 12th grade, and Jake Reeves does birth through...
Give them all to me.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Can they sing?
Actually, I would love to lead worship just for a bunch of like infants. You know, if we could make that happen, that'd be amazing.
I will let the infant room know that.
Yeah.
Perfect.
So if all the adults could leave and I only have little babies, that'd be great.
Perfect.
That sounds awful.
It would be absolutely chaotic. It would be absolutely chaotic, but it'd be adorable.
Adorbs. All right. So today we are talking about from comfort zone to the danger zone. I was really disappointed this week that we went through 2 services without playing Highway to the Danger Zone, but you cut it on the 3rd.
No, we did it after 10. Don't
Oh,
worry.
you did it after 10?
Yeah, because the second we got to the end of 8:30, I'm like, we're missing something at the end of this service.
Oh, yeah, did something. I thought
Little
you were
ca-
doing it during the announcement, so I was waiting for it. And then I'm like, oh,
we could
cool.
have done that. No, I like.
Pop quiz, Cam. Who sings Highway to the Danger Zone?
Oh, man.
What artist?
I wanted to say Lizzo, but
Cardi B? No, it is the Kenny Loggins.
oh,
Also does Footloose.
really?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And what else?
We'll go
Dang.
through a full Kenny Loggins discography.
Man, how long do we have? No.
So when you go ride your crotch rocket down a airport runway or dance in the woods to work out some anger, Kenny
How did we
Loggins.
not make that video of Cam riding a crotch rocket down like the Gardner Airport?
I'll do that.
That's a great
It's a
question.
nice little intro video.
I already pitched that one to Pastor Rick that I really wanted the sermon to start with him and Trudy riding in on it. So
All right, well, let's get down to business. Let's get down to business. All right. So
that was a perfect Mulan.
let's get
down
Yeah,
to
come on now.
business. All right. Well, before we sing everything, so I want to know, this week we were talking about danger zones. We're talking about moving from our comfort zone. What is something in your life that you thought it was going to be dangerous or stupid, and you were kind of scared of it, and then you did it, and then you look back at it and you're like, oh, that wasn't so bad.
I'll go surface level, just because, you know, obviously I could talk about like doing pastory worship stuff and being scared on that, but a little more just life that everyone might encounter. So, I think I was in 7th or 8th grade. I had just had an appendectomy, maybe 3 or 4 days before this, and I went out to Colorado to go snowboarding. I was with my doctor, so he allowed it.
I'll allow it.
And so I took snowboarding lessons for the first day, but they had been, he and his family, who I was friends with, his son, had been multiple times. And so we were in Winter Park, and they really wanted to go to the top of Mary Jane, like the big mountain there.
Oh,
And
so you're on copper, huh?
Oh yeah. So I I did it. Like I had one day of ski school in me for snowboarding, and I was terrified, but it was it was beautiful. And I was not prepared for it. I biffed a lot, but I didn't hit a tree. So
Perfect.
that was, and now I love snowboarding. Granted, I don't get to do enough of it, but that's why I one wheel now. So
There you go.
anyway, there's a nice surface level little boop for you.
There you go. Mine is pretty surface level, but also probably not. But so I'm thinking of, so I have a fear of, I can climb anything. I just have a fear of falling. And so I don't like to fall. I don't like the idea. So like skydiving, yes. But then I'm pretty sure once the things open up, I'm going to be like, nope, I'm good. But I will climb up to any airplane and just jump off it until that point we have to jump off. So for me, summer camp, we used to go to the summer camp in Andrews, North Carolina, and so there was this rec thing called the poopy pole, which that's what they call it.
Nah, you good.
Yeah. So
I'm here for it. Let's
it
do
makes
it.
sense. So what you do is it's like a telephone pole. So you climb up the telephone pole, and then you're standing on it, and they call it the poopy pole because as you're standing on top of it, the people on the bottom shaking the pole, so you're like moving around and stuff like that. And then there's a bar, like a gymnastic bar, probably from me to you, that you have to leap to or towards and grab it as the pole's shaking. And so obviously I climb up, I'm good. I'm kind of like, so I stand up, and then people, like 10 people come down and they're like shaking it. And I'm like, oh my gosh. And I leap and I grab it, I make it, and I do some pull-ups and I drop.
We are in heavy Mulan
Oh
territory
yeah,
right
100%.
now.
I'm like scared for you as you're telling the story. It's like I'm like picturing like if my kid did that, I would break their legs.
So how about you, Pastor Lucas?
Like surface level one.
I don't care. You can do.
Like I think that I had this well, I had a run-in with driving when I was 16. I borrowed my brother's car, and it was a 1990 convertible LeBaron.
Oh yeah.
Oh, yeah.
My sister had one. Yeah.
It was amazing. And so I took it out like 2 days after I had my license, and long story short, I got involved in a drag racing thing.
Oh,
Perfect.
So, and like I almost had a head-on collision, but the whole time I'm with my best friend, and he's like, "Gun it, man! This is awesome!" And I'm going, "I'm gonna die!" Like and like so the whole time I'm just like shaking, and I'm doing drag race person with oncoming traffic, and I barely missed oncoming traffic, pulled in front of her, skidded off onto a dirt road, parked the car, and then that was when it switched. It like dawned on my friend that we almost died. And he was like, he was a person with a cell phone, so he had one of those Ronald McDonald flip phones.
yeah.
Oh,
Yeah.
Perfect.
And so like he goes, "I'm gonna call my mom." And I was like, I got out of the car, I was like jumping around, like, yes, yeah. Like, did you see that? But the whole time I'm going, I'm just like, oh my gosh. Like I just, you're gonna die, but you can't back down because you're stupid.
Literally the opening to Tokyo Drift.
Yes.
Yep.
Basically.
I mean, it really was. But I mean, like, I think on a serious
No,
note,
yeah.
I think for me it was fatherhood.
Oh yeah.
That scared me to death. Like when we started doing foster kids and when Carissa got pregnant, because I don't really like babies.
Especially choosing to be a foster parent. Like
Yeah.
that's a full on. I mean, without getting into it, obviously having babies, there's something that gets you there
Yeah.
as an incentive.
I mean, like, it's fun to practice. When people are like, "We're trying to have a baby," I'm like, "Oh, good for you."
But foster care, man, yeah, that's amazing.
I know
and
it's
terrifying.
It's all of the responsibility with none of the
Yeah.
fringe benefits. But like seriously, like being a dad, like I don't know how you guys feel about that. Like I'm not like, well, I used to not be like, "Oh, I'm gonna snuggle the baby. Oh, who's got a cute baby?" I'm like, I don't care.
Oh,
And so I just thought I was terrified that I wasn't even gonna want to snuggle my own kid.
I have some clear pockets with kids where I'm like, oh, they're super amazing, and so I'm still not like little babies. I'm like, that's fine. You can stay with mom for.
Yeah.
I did hold my kid and I loved her and cuddled her, but I was definitely around the 9 month when they're sitting up and kind of doing their own thing. I'm like, oh yeah, this is when the party starts.
Yeah, I'm more like you of going, like you said this before, of like, I think my kids are cute, but other people's kids, I'm like, nah. Like,
It's
so,
not my comfort zone to hold your baby.
Yeah. Like, I don't have kids, so none in the works at all, nothing like that. But like,
You just want to give an awkward high five to like an
Yeah.
infant that can't be like, good job,
yeah,
kid.
yeah.
Yeah. Like, do you want to hold him? No.
No, I'm good.
I'm good.
I feel like I'm gonna break it, so like that's my big thing. So yeah, I do puppies.
Well, this
Yeah.
week we were talking comfort zone to danger zone.
Oh yeah.
And Pastor Rick was going over the story. It's interesting to me because I feel like if you grew up in Sunday school, you know this story, but a lot of people don't because it's in the book of Numbers.
Yep.
And nobody goes to the book of Numbers, even though it's filled with cool stories. And so it's the story about how the Israelites, they finally get to the promised land. They escape Egypt. They get the 10 Commandments. They were right at the edge of the promised land. That happens fairly quickly. We always think about the Israelites wandering, but it happens pretty quick. And then they send in 12 spies, one nominee from each of the tribes, and they go in for 40 days and they come back and they're supposed to like give the report. And there was a Sunday school song that we used to sing. It was like 12 men went to spy on Canaan, 10 were bad and 2 were good.
I did not sing that
Nope,
one,
not
but
at all.
No?
and I sang some of the oldies, man. Like our carpet was most definitely red with.
Oh man. That's what like oh no.
No, you're good,
I'm not
man.
gonna sing
You're
the whole
good.
song.
Please do it, please.
But there were hand motions because you would go 10, you'd hold up all 10 fingers, and you go 10 were, and then you give them a thumbs down. 10 were bad, and then it was always confusing because you wanted to go 2 like with each of your hands, but really that's 4.
Oh man.
So you had to like hold up ones, and then you'd have to give thumbs up. So you'd go 10 were bad and 2 were good.
See, this is why I can't remember. Like, I was doing the Devo on Sunday, and my brain, it remembered that there were 10 that was bad, but I'm like, wait, were there 10 total spies? And then it was like, oh no, it was a 12 tribes,
yeah.
12 tribes of Israel.
And so 10 of them come back and they go, listen, bad news.
Yeah.
Like they're like, it's great there. There's lots of crops, but the people there's giants, and these people are crazy, and the towns are fortified, and we're not doing this. and then 2 of them were like, let's go.
Yeah.
Like, we got this.
Yep.
The Lord's going to do this for us. So when you guys think about that story, you know, if you are there, what kind of report are you giving? Like, and don't just be like the, you know, oh, of course I'm you know, with God. I'm like going, are you the good news person or the bad news person?
I think for me, I'd probably do the bad news, but if somebody's next to me and is like, we can do this, I'd be like, okay, guys, let's go.
Like, I don't know about this.
I will try it out. I think it's more so of like going back to last week, well, the faith of the maybe faith type of thing of like if somebody's like, oh yeah, maybe we can do this. I'd be like, yeah, sure, maybe we got this, but I'm gonna lean on the bad side, the bad news first. That's just me. So
Yeah, I think my inclination would probably, just because it's an overused term, but I'm a self-proclaimed realist on that sense.
Yeah.
And so I remember even before the big one, I walked into Rick's office in the morning when originally when it was on October 3rd and the weather was looking dicey. I walked in, midweek, and I told him, I'm like, I don't want to be one of the 10. I literally said, I don't want to be one of the 10, but I think we need to move this. And I told him, I'm like, if anyone hears, like if anyone comes back as one of those 2, I'll be like, yep, I believe you. God spoke to you. And nobody did. So it was fine. And everything turned out great. It turned out to be a wise decision. But I think naturally I kind of lean into that. I've definitely, thankfully, had times in my life now where I've got to be the 2. But I just don't think if I want to call my natural inclination, it would be I'm one of the 10.
yeah.
I'm in a weird season right now because normally I'm like, no, this is not going to work. But like sometimes out of sheer stubbornness, like in our relationship, Carissa and I, we're both pessimists. But like, so if Carissa takes the pessimistic stance, I'm like, no, like we're going to the stubbornness of me, like the wanting to be an outsider, like makes me want to be positive. And so like, it's funny because like right now, like we'll say something and I'm like, man, when I'm the optimist right now, we're in a bad place. But like I'm always that thing where like somebody says, what do you think of this? And I literally want to look at him and go, do you want a data-driven analysis of what you want, or do you want me to tell you it's going to be okay? Because I'll tell you in faith, God's going to do this. However, here are my concerns.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like we were talking about this in my life group, and I was like, I'd be like, yeah, we can absolutely do this. Also, we need longer spears. Yeah. Like there are giants in the land. Yeah. We absolutely can do this. We need longer spears. So it's like I want to address what's happening,
right?
But I want to overcome the circumstances.
We got to eat our veggies.
Yeah, it's like we're gonna need another bowl of Wheaties in the morning.
Cam's like, yeah, I'm down.
And a catapult.
I need a whole bunch of tofu.
Oh yeah, come on, Monkey King.
General Tso's tofu.
Hey, so side note, I plugged in my phone when I was going to Groundhouse, and it immediately popped up on my Google, like the suggestions, Monkey King, 18 minutes away.
Like, hey, this is part of your rhythm.
Yeah,
that's a problem.
Oh man.
So.
Oh yeah.
Side note.
The
staff may have a slight problem with a restaurant called Monkey King up by 95th that is delicious.
Shout out to Monkey King.
So anyway, for context, so you're not completely confused.
It's terrible when your phone busts you out like that though, where it'll be like, like mine had started to get into a rhythm when it was like during life group time on Tuesday nights. It would be like, oh, do you want to set a 7-minute timer? Because I set them for 7-minute stories, and I'd be like, yes, I do. And then the next morning we'd get up like, you're going to the QT, right? I was like, dang it. But so
Anyway.
when we're talking about comfort zone and danger zone, so like I said, it sounds like we're all kind of like, yeah, we want to address the issues at least. We might be given the bad report, but we'll still go if we want to. So what do you think, like when we're talking to people about moving out of their comfort zones, what do you think are the things that are holding people back normally? When somebody says, man, like Pastor Rick was saying, you're complaining about your life. You're saying, I wish my life was different. I wish I had a different job. I wish, and it's like, but they won't move. What do you think is probably the most common things that hold people back?
I mean, obviously we can form a list here, which I'm bummed because I physically have a list in my little Move notebook,
in your Move notebook
for tonight's discussion. But when part of it is if you don't see the vision, if you don't understand why you risk what's comfortable, then of course it's difficult to let go of I know this. I'm like, this is easy. This is comfortable. So a lot of times it's just simply not having any sort of vision, any sort of hope, any sort of faith of what's on the other side.
So like if you had a plate of food and I said, don't eat that, I got something better, You're like, I don't know, this is my favorite thing. But if I wave the other food in front of you,
Yeah, or even if you're like, well, let me describe it to you. You know,
Mm-hmm.
it is straight from Monkey King. Like
I got you the Super Monkey. I'm in. Like,
So, I think that's one of many things. I'll let you guys kind of
Yeah.
keep bouncing on that.
I think for me, it's like I think of just like kind of like you said, the fear of the unknown, and so like you don't know what's going to be on the other side of like you taking that move, taking that step of going. Yeah, let's do this. Let's try to go into this promised land. What else is going to be there? Like they saw that one area, but did they see everything? Like what was behind those things that they saw? And even like for youth, like we're preaching on even Peter stepping out in the water. Like he didn't know is this going to work? Like Jesus said, come out in the water, but he's taking a step from the boat, comfortable, to this water that there's winds and waves, and he's like, okay, is this really what's going to happen once I step onto the water? What's going to happen when I step into what's uncomfortable? And I think like for me, in my story of moving from Florida with all my family and my friends to the middle of the country, I didn't know anybody. And like, I don't know what was on the other side of this, and I have to have faith that God's going to move and God's going to work. I mean, he did, but it's that fear of the unknown of going, I don't know what's going to happen when God tells me to move and I step out in faith, what's on the other side of that?
Yeah, yeah.
So that freaks people out loud.
Yeah.
well, I think that's a good point because I think that is what holds people back sometimes is trading in good for great.
Yeah.
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 You know, or even I can't remember. I think it's John Bevere that wrote the book Good or God, and he says there can be good things that are not from God, and then there are things that are from God. And he goes, and we can get confused to saying, you know, like, oh, this is a good thing in my life, and it's like, yes, but God's calling you to this other thing, and so I think it's hard. I think it's easier to be like, well, my job stinks, so I'm going to get a better job, versus my job is good.
Yep.
And then going, but I feel like I should start my own business. Like that's a
Oh.
much different leap.
100%. Where maybe you have a great boss. Maybe it's actually a really enjoyable culture, but your schedule is messing with your ability to serve or something that you're like, I really feel alive when I'm doing missions or I'm doing whatever. And yeah, stepping away from that really good thing to step into God's great thing.
Well, and I think too, one of the biggest things I see in our culture is this idea that if I'm not doing something, I can sit and criticize. But the minute that I'm the one that goes out in the middle, then all of a sudden now I'm the focus of criticism.
Oh,
So it's way easier to sit on the sidelines and be like, life should be easier. This should be different. My boss should, but it's like going out and doing something about it. Now you're like the doing gets all the criticism.
that is one of the toughest things I think that the church is stuck in a loop in right now, especially for young people, because I feel like as they kind of grow up, they hit their 20s, all of a sudden the kind of sheen of growing up in the church, and they realize like, oh, the people executing church are just as messed up. You know, they're humans. And all of a sudden it's easier for them to sit back and be critical and be like, I don't want to be a part of that, than to be like, oh no, this is God's chosen instrument. I'm going to step into it and I'm going to be the reason that the next generation gets better and stuff like that. But
and then you're like, all these people are flawed, and you're like, so are you.
Yeah.
So welcome.
come on in.
Welcome to the party.
Yeah. So when we're talking about this moving people from comfort zone to danger zone, we're obviously talking about the move that we're making as a church to be in the community. We're talking about the new building. We're talking about all of those things. So like for you guys, when you think about this, you know, moving to a new building, moving into a new phase of our church, what about that do you think are really uncomfortable areas that we're going to have to move into and move out to as a church?
Well, I think
What is it you don't want to do is what I'm asking.
Well, not for me, but you know, I think through everything that we're doing, and like we're talking about building a new building, and obviously that means money. Like, and
What?
so even a hope.
What? No, I'm kidding.
We can't build it with hopes and dreams.
Oh man, but so like, and that happens. But I think it's a perfect, like it ties together of going like God wants, even if it's not building a building, but if God is calling you to move to something new, it's a sacrifice for something. And so it's going, okay, God's calling us to move as a church to a new building, and it's not even just a new building, but even a new season of just more impact.
Yeah.
It means you're going to have to give up time, energy, money, something, resources. And so it's going, okay, if God's calling you to more, you just have to he's asking you to sacrifice more, and you have to have faith to go, okay, like, because I'm assuming that everybody, when we're talking about money, they're doing that whole like, my money, like
Clutch 'em, clutch 'em.
like, what are you
know.
talking about? But it's going, okay, God's calling us to move. God's calling us to be faithful. Okay, cool. Like, here's what I have, and let's see God move with what I have. It might not be a lot. It might be a lot. I don't know. But like, let's see what God moves. And so I don't know.
Well,
That's one of the things that I see.
That's the yeah, because this series obviously is supposed to stir us to make spiritual moves, and part of the spiritual moves is how we engage financially with generosity, and that's painful for everybody, and the struggle is, as New Life, Pastor Rick said it from on stage, and we've seen it, we know it. We don't have the one person that's going to come along and just lift everybody up on eagle's wings with a multi-million-dollar check. We legitimately have to be the church where every single person is listening to God and being like, God, how are you calling me to be generous? And the same thing goes on. It can't be the same 150 people serving and doing the ministry of New Life. There has to be new people stepping up. There has to be people who are in mid-tiers, willing to step up into leadership, which means, like you said, time, energy. Like, it's gonna be a sacrifice. Like, and we battle it all the time in our own lives and everything. People want church to be convenient. Yeah. And it just isn't.
And I love that because you bring up, because you brought that up, and I think of that chart that we showed on Sunday.
Oh, yeah.
The giving chart. I'm like, yeah, it's money, but like, take time, take serving. Right. How many people don't do anything and just come to church, sit there for an hour and leave? But like, and then how many of you guys, like, the next step for you is like, okay, cool, serve or get into a life group, do something besides just, I'm gonna come and take and then leave. Like get to that next level. What is that next level? What is that next step for you that God's calling you to move in? So like, that's,
if every single person in New Life took one step forward, like one step on that ladder, in their serving and their finances, we'd be great. Like, honestly, like, if everyone said, I'm in, I'm going to roll with it, like, we would have ministries full. We'd be able to impact the community the way we need financially,
Yeah.
like,
I was talking to my, I lead one of the next groups, the young adult groups, and I was telling them, and because I think sometimes you just need to hear it in concrete terms. I was like, oh yeah, we run demographics. It's like, if everyone in our church tithed, like every giving unit tithed, we wouldn't need $4 million. We would already have 8.
Oh goodness, yes.
And so it's like, it's that, because they were asking like, well, I work at McDonald's, what difference does my $50 a week make? And we're like going, but if everyone did that, then we would be way over the top of what we need.
The human brain does not like compounding math things. We don't understand. Like, we don't understand how our
Dave Ramsey does.
I know Dave Ramsey does.
Shout out
God
to Dave
bless
Ramsey.
Dave Ramsey. But Dave Ramsey's a great example of the debt snowball. And when you feel like you're getting nowhere, well, my $50 can't go anywhere. Your $50 over X amount of years, like the impact that can have spiritually is huge, absolutely huge. And that's tough. That's tough for people to like feel. I understand it, but
and when I think of the danger zones and the comfort zones that we're in right now, is what I really want to see is I want people to own it, because personally, and I mean it like this. So there's a member of our congregation. He was having breakfast one day, and he started to drive out, and he saw this person, and he waved at him. Some guy walking down the street, obviously kind of down on his luck, and so he said, well, you know what, I should swing back around and help that person or pray for that person. He swings back around, doesn't see him. So he prays, Lord, help me find him, whatever. Comes back to the same place at the same time the next day. Nice. There he is. Oh, wow. And so he takes that, extra initiative, goes back and says, hey, how are you doing? Like, meets the guy, introduces himself, and just said, hey, I saw you the other day and waved at you, but I felt compelled to stop and talk to you. And so the guy said he was down on his luck. So he goes, stay right here. Goes to the ATM, takes out $100, comes back, gives the guy $100. And the guy just breaks down, starts crying. They pray together, brings him to church on Sunday. We pray for him on Sunday to battle some things, some addictions in his life. Yeah. And I just got an email yesterday that guy checked himself into a Christian rehab.
That's awesome.
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
And like, so he's talking about coming back to church when he gets out of rehab, he's reconciling with his wife, all that kind of stuff.
Yep.
Because somebody stopped after, like basically after breakfast and got him, and it cost him personally
Yeah.
$100.
And the time. And
Yep.
yeah.
And the the fear of getting out of that comfort
Yeah.
zone and going, no, I need to go stop and pray for the
Exactly.
stranger. And I'm going, this guy's story is just starting, but I'm going, this
Yep.
could change this guy's life. And I want to see more and more people do that, because like when we talk about, oh, you should give to resource ministry or I'm going, you're giving to resource this.
Yeah.
Right.
Like that this guy had a place to go on Sunday, that when it came around him as a community, started to help him, pray for him, got him a Bible, the whole thing. I'm going, if you have personal skin in the game where it's my friend, I brought
Yeah.
my friend to church, or I brought my family, or I met a guy at QT and brought him to church.
Yeah.
Now you have skin in the game. And it's like, I want to see more people take that evangelism step out, even if it's just one person in 2022. It's like,
Oh, yeah.
it would be huge
Yeah.
for our community.
Like, and that is the tough thing, and admittedly we need to find the magic bullet to even do better, let people know how their generosity makes impact. But it's like I was talking to somebody at the big one who got connected to our church through our online streaming, connected with a family at New Life, and now they're bringing friends, and so we aren't able to do streaming for free. Like
Right.
that seems a really unsexy thing, but it's like the memberships we have to pay for, there's all that sorts of stuff. There's things where we are doing benevolence things that people just, that $50 goes so far.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Doubling back to your $50
Absolutely.
example.
Well, we got to kind of wrap up, but I want to end this way a little bit different this week, because there's a whole nother portion to this story that you actually find out 40 years later. And that is contained in some of our life group material. So if you're in a life group and you listen to the 167, at your life group, you'll get to see that other part of the story. If you come to Move groups on Tuesday nights, you'll get to hear that other part of the story. But it's also in your Move booklet. If you come by on Sunday morning to pick up, it's going to be in your Move booklet. And it's available on Right Now Media. If you have a Right Now Media subscription through New Life Community Church, it's absolutely free. If you don't have one, you can go to newlifegardner.com/rightnow, and it will walk you through that process of downloading the app on your phone and having access to that on a mobile device.
Do they have to wait 40 years?
They do not.
Okay, that's great.
So
Right now.
you could wait 40 years, or you could spend 40 seconds going to a website and
Hey,
filling
yeah.
out a.
Awesome.
So make sure that you tune in for that. Like I said, it'll be week 2 of Move. Watch the videos on Right Now Media. Do the devotions and the discussions guide in your booklets for Move, or join us for Move groups on Tuesday nights.
Yeah.
Guys, thank you for being here today.
No
Thank you
problem.
for
It's awesome.
being here as well.
Monkey King.
Monkey King. All right. Thanks for being here on the 167. We'll see you guys next time.
All right.
If you enjoyed this episode of the 167, make sure you like, subscribe, follow, get notified, leave a 5-star rating and a positive review. Tell all your friends to listen as well. Make sure you go over to newlifegardner.com and check out all that we have to offer as a church, and check out our messages online as well. Thanks for listening.